Have you ever stopped to think that the deadliest weapon in the universe might be right under your nose? While alien civilizations developed technologies capable of disintegrating entire planets, humanity perfected something far more terrifying: the ability to turn metal and gunpowder into intergalactic nightmares. Get ready to discover how a simple AK-47 became the symbol of the greatest mistake an advanced civilization has ever made. This is not just another alien invasion story, it's a testament to what happens when supposedly superior beings mistake technology for real power. The Egots, one of the most advanced races in the galaxy, thought they had found easy prey. After all, what threat could a species that still used metal projectiles as its primary means of defense possibly pose? They were about to learn that underestimating humanity would be the last mistake they ever made. In the vast and mysterious universe, where advanced civilizations traveled between the stars as easily as humans crossed the street, there was one particularly interesting race called the Egots. These beings, known for their incomprehensible technology and their sense of superiority, were about to learn a lesson that would echo through the galaxies for millennia. It all began when Eeks, a young Egot explorer, found something that would forever change the fate of his species: a primitive weapon called the AK-47. Eeks' elongated, pale hands trembled slightly as he held the metallic object, not out of fear, but out of sheer incredulity. How could a civilization that still relied on metal projectiles pose any kind of threat to a race that had mastered the energy of the stars? The weight of the weapon in his hands felt like a cosmic joke, a reminder of the technological inferiority of the inhabitants of that small blue planet called Earth. The smugglers who had sold him the weapon were cunning creatures with eyes that gleamed with an ancient knowledge that Eeks, in his arrogance, failed to recognize. They whispered stories of the devastating efficiency of this tool of destruction, but the young Egot merely laughed, dismissing the tales as the exaggerations of desperate traders trying to make a sale. After all, what real harm could a piece of metal that fired other pieces of metal possibly cause? The primitiveness of human technology fascinated Eeks in an almost anthropological way. He disassembled the AK-47 multiple times, studying its mechanism with a mixture of amusement and disdain. The simplicity of its design, which humans considered ingenious, seemed to him like nothing more than confirmation of how backward their species still was in technological evolution. Every metallic piece, every spring and trigger, reinforced his conviction that humanity would be an easy conquest. As he documented his findings, Eeks could barely contain his satisfaction at the thought of how his superiors would react to this discovery. In his mind, he was already picturing the honors he would receive for having found such a vulnerable planet. Human resistance would be insignificant. After all, what could they possibly do against spaceships and plasma cannons with their metal sticks? The report he was preparing was filled with condescending terms and superficial analyses. Days turned into weeks as Eeks continued his research into human military capabilities. Every new discovery only increased his confidence in the Egots' superiority. Terrestrial warfare tactics seemed rudimentary, based on primitive principles of brute force and physical endurance. For a civilization that had transcended the limitations of matter millennia ago, it all seemed absurdly outdated. What Eeks failed to realize, amidst all his pride and arrogance, was that he was making the same mistakes so many other civilizations had made before, underestimating humanity. While he laughed at the simplicity of the AK-47, he didn't understand that sometimes the most effective weapons aren't the most advanced, but rather those forged in the furnace of necessity and perfected on the battlefield. The shadows of humanity's true nature in war were beginning to stretch across the horizon, but Eeks was too busy admiring the glow of his own superiority to notice them. Among the spirals of the Milky Way, the Egot civilization was known for its technological dominance and an arrogance that rivaled the brightness of the most intense stars. Their motherships, true floating cities in the vacuum of space, carried not only weapons of mass destruction, but also the weight of a millennia-old pride that had led them to conquer countless worlds. To them, each new conquest was more than just a victory. It was a confirmation of their supposed cosmic superiority. Ika's return to his civilization was met with the typical pomp of the EGOTs. The crystal halls of the command ship filled with the military elite, all eager to hear about this new race that would be added to their impressive record of conquests. Holographic projections displayed images of Earth, its blue oceans and green continents provoking covetous smiles on the elongated faces of the gathered officers. Humanity's primitive technology was presented as a cosmic joke. The expansive, supreme leader of the EGOTs observed everything with her multicolored eyes, which seemed to contain entire galaxies. Her throne, made of a metal that shifted shape according to her mood, pulsed with a soft glow as she absorbed the information about this new prey. To her, every conquest was a masterpiece, a demonstration of her species' evolutionary superiority. Humanity would be just another painting in her gallery of victories. The EGOT military strategists worked tirelessly, developing invasion plans that resembled artistic choreographies more than actual war tactics. Their holograms displayed flawless battle simulations that would never unfold as imagined. In their brilliant yet arrogance-blinded minds, human resistance would be crushed as easily as a supernova consumes an unprotected planet. Ikes, now promoted to invasion counselor, strolled through the crystalline corridors of the command ship, savoring his new position of prestige. His elongated hands caressed the AK-47 he had brought as a trophy, using it to illustrate the pathetic simplicity of the humans in his presentations. Every demonstration of the weapon's mechanics was met with scornful laughter from the EGOT, officers who couldn't fathom how a species could rely on something so basic. In the psychological warfare laboratories, EGOT scientists analyzed human behavior patterns, creating predictive models that, ironically, ignored the most crucial factor: the unpredictability of human resistance. They cataloged earthly emotions as weaknesses, failing to realize that feelings such as courage, determination, and resilience would be precisely what turned their invasion into an unexpected nightmare. Preparations for the invasion advanced with the precision of a cosmic clock. Fleets were positioned, weapons calibrated, and plans finalized with a confidence bordering on insanity. None of the thousands of EGOTs involved in the planning could conceive of failure. After all, how could they be defeated by a species that still relied on metallic projectiles as its primary means of defense? Fate, however, had a lesson in store about the danger of underestimating those who appear weaker. The day Earth's skies became a canvas for the EGOT's spectacle of power began like any other. The sun rose on the horizon, painting the sky with golden hues that would soon be obscured by the arrival of the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. The EGOT ships emerged from hyperspace like celestial predators, their silver silhouettes blocking the sunlight in an artificial eclipse that made the entire world hold its breath. The invaders' technology was a marvel of space engineering. Each ship was a masterpiece of destruction, equipped with weapons capable of vaporizing entire cities with a single shot. The EGOTs had planned their arrival to be not just an invasion, but a demonstration of technological supremacy, one that would break the spirit of resistance before the first shot was even fired. The silence that greeted their arrival was interpreted as submission, when in reality, it was the calm before the storm. The first waves of attack were executed with surgical precision that would have impressed even the most experienced human. Military strategists. Energy beams sliced through empty structures, disintegrating buildings and infrastructure with terrifying efficiency. The EGOTs watched from their ships, satisfied with the apparent ease of their conquest. No signs of resistance, no desperate counterattacks, just the deafening silence of a seemingly defeated civilization. Ikes, now commanding his own battleship, felt his pride swell with each passing second without opposition. His sensors scanned the ghost cities in search of life signs, finding only echoes of what seemed to be a massive evacuation. The once vibrant terrestrial megacities now resembled cemeteries of concrete and steel. But deep in his mind, a question began to form. Where were the planet's defenders? Where was the resistance that every civilization, no matter how primitive, naturally put up? The EGOT ground troops began their landing in perfect formations, their biomechanical armor gleaming under the filtered light of a sun partially obscured by their own ships. Each soldier carried energy weapons capable of disintegrating any known material, moving with the confidence of those who already considered the battle won. The first steps of these alien warriors on Earth's soil were taken with the same arrogance that characterized their entire civilization. As the occupying forces advanced through the abandoned cities, an unsettling sensation began to take hold among the EGOT ranks. The silence was too oppressive, the absence of resistance too disturbing. The commanding officers dismissed these concerns as unnecessary paranoia, but every step taken into enemy territory seemed to lead their troops deeper into a carefully prepared trap. Earth had become a chessboard where every move of the invaders was watched, calculated, and anticipated. In the floating command centers, the EGOT leaders prematurely celebrated their victory. Toasts were made with bioluminescent fluids, while colonization plans were already being discussed. No one realized that every minute of apparent human submission was, in reality, another moment of preparation for a counterattack that would go down in galactic history. Humanity had neither fled nor surrendered. They were waiting, watching, and preparing to teach the EGOTs a lesson about the true meaning of war, one they would never forget. The moment that would forever change the EGOTs' perception of war began with a single shot. A primitive, almost tribal sound that cut through the silence like thunder in the calm. It was the crack of an AK-47, identical to the one Ikez had so deeply scorned. That first shot was the signal, the spark that ignited the battlefield in a display of force that no EGOT had ever witnessed. From the shadows of the forests, from the ruins of cities, and from deep underground, humanity emerged in an unstoppable wave of fury and determination. The air filled with the deafening roar of thousands of firearms firing simultaneously. Strategically positioned machine guns created a symphony of destruction that caught the EGOT troops completely off guard. The primitive projectiles, once the object of ridicule, now tore through their sophisticated biomechanical armor as if it were paper. The bluish blood of the aliens stained the battlefield, creating a macabre spectacle that proved advanced technology does not always mean military superiority. The elongated face of Eeks twisted in pure horror as he watched from his command ship. His soldiers, trained for civilized wars with energy weapons that provided quick and clean deaths, now faced a form of combat they could not comprehend. Humans did not fight just to win. They fought to survive, to protect, to avenge. Each bullet carried not just lead, but a clear message. Earth would not be conquered without a devastating price. What disturbed the invaders most was not just the effectiveness of human weapons, but the relentless nature of their warriors. Wounded soldiers kept fighting, ignoring pain that would have incapacitated any EGOT. Civilians transformed into combatants. In the heat of battle, wielding rifles with a familiarity that suggested generations of preparation for this moment. The human resistance was not just a military force. It was the manifestation of an unbreakable spirit that refused to bow before any threat, no matter how technologically superior it appeared to be. Human tactics proved brutally efficient in their simplicity. Ambushes were followed by strategic withdrawals that led the EGOTs straight into even deadlier traps. Every advance of the aliens was met with a rain of bullets and explosives that turned the city streets into slaughterhouses. The war, the EGOTs, expected to win in a matter of hours, was turning into an endless nightmare, where every street corner could hide dozens of defenders, determined to make their planet a graveyard for the invaders. Among the EGOT officers, panic spread like a plague. Their energy weapons, though devastating, required recharge time and had limited range compared to human firearms. The technological superiority that was supposed to guarantee a swift victory now seemed more like a disadvantage. The humans had turned their technological limitations into tactical advantages, using the simplicity and reliability of their weapons to maintain a constant volume of fire that prevented any attempt at regrouping or organized counterattack. The sound of machine guns echoed across the battlefields, a constant reminder of the fatal mistake the EGOTs had made. Every shot, every explosion, every human war cry carried a clear message. The true nature of war does not lie in the sophistication of weapons, but in the determination of those who wield them. The once silent streets now bore witness to a display of resistance that would be remembered for millennia. The humans were not just defending their planet. They were rewriting the rules of interstellar combat with blood, sweat, and a courage that defied their invaders' comprehension. The true nature of human warfare revealed itself not only through the violence of battle, but through the unbreakable resolve emanating from every defender of Earth. While the EGOTs responded with their energy weapons, instantly vaporizing everything, the humans displayed a resilience that defied alien logic. For every soldier who fell, 3 more took their place, as if death itself were merely a temporary inconvenience on the path to victory. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a demonstration of willpower that would make the stars tremble. In makeshift trenches and underground bunkers, men and women fought side by side, their faces smeared with soot and blood, but their eyes burning with fierce determination. The AK-47s, the very same weapons Eeks had ridiculed, proved their worth time and time again. The rhythmic sound of gunfire mixed with shouts of orders and encouragement. "For Earth!" was the battle cry that echoed through the ruins, each syllable carrying the weight of millions of years of evolution and survival. Eeks watched in horror as his elite troops, equipped with the most advanced war technology in the galaxy, were systematically wiped out by tactics he considered primitive. Humans did not fight like programmed machines. They adapted, improvised, and evolved in the heat of battle. When one attack method failed, they instantly switched to another, a tactical flexibility that the EGOTs, with all their supposed superiority, could neither understand nor replicate. Stories of individual heroism multiplied across the battlefield, like stars in a cloudless night. A soldier, even with his arm shredded by an energy blast, continued leading his platoon in a devastating counterattack. A young nurse ran through a storm of alien fire to rescue wounded comrades, her determined face ignoring the mortal danger surrounding her. Each act of bravery fueled the collective resistance, inspiring others to push beyond their limits. Intercepted. Human communications left the EGOTs bewildered. Amid the chaos and destruction, there was laughter, jokes, and even battle songs. The defenders of Earth did not show the fear their invaders expected. On the contrary, they seemed to draw strength from their own mortality. Every loss was honored, every sacrifice celebrated as another step toward inevitable victory. Death was not feared, but accepted as the necessary price of freedom. What disturbed the EGOT commanders the most was the apparent impossibility of breaking the human spirit. Entire cities could be reduced to ashes by their plasma cannons, yet from the rubble, determined fighters would still emerge, armed with their primitive firearms and an indomitable will to resist. The war that was supposed to be a demonstration of technological superiority was turning into a lesson about the true nature of power. Not the kind that comes from machines, but the kind that is born from spirit. From his orbital command post, Eeks was finally beginning to understand the fundamental mistake his civilization had made. He replayed in his mind that first encounter with the AK-47, remembering the smuggler who had tried to warn him about the true nature of humans. Now, watching the carnage below, he realized it was not the weapon he should have studied, but the people who had created it. A species that had turned its own fragility into its greatest strength, its mortality into its most powerful weapon. In the vastness of space, the majestic EGOT ships, which once dominated Earth's skies with their imposing presence, began to show signs of vulnerability. What started as small failures in their energy shields soon turned into a cascade of system malfunctions that no alien engineer could explain. The superior technology that was supposed to guarantee their invincibility was being overcome not by more advanced weapons, but by the relentless human determination to find and exploit every small weakness. Eeks, his voice trembling in a way no EGOT had ever exhibited under normal circumstances, desperately tried to communicate with the expansive. His words, once filled with confidence and disdain, now carried the weight of regret and a belated understanding. "It is not their technology we should have feared," he transmitted between explosions and interference. "It is the passion with which they fight, the determination that turned their limitations into advantages." Every word was a confession of a mistake that would cost far more than just a military defeat. The Earth's sky, once dominated by the gleaming metal of EGOT ships, had now transformed into an unprecedented spectacle of destruction. One after another, the proud alien battleships began to plummet, their defenses pierced by tactics that combined primitive weaponry with a brutal creativity the invaders had never considered possible. The humans were not merely defending themselves. They were actively hunting their aggressors, turning every small victory into an opportunity for an even more devastating blow. Within the EGOT command centers, chaos spread like a terminal disease. Officers who, just days before, had debated how to divide the spoils of their easy conquest were now shouting desperate orders for retreat. The meticulously crafted plans, based on centuries of experience in intergalactic conquests, crumbled in the face of a force they had fatally underestimated. Technological superiority, they realized too late, was no guarantee of victory against an enemy willing to sacrifice everything for survival. Ix's message to his civilization grew increasingly desperate as the last defenses fell. "They do not fight with weapons alone," he transmitted through bursts of static. "They fight with a conviction that transcends our understanding. Every defeat makes them stronger. Every loss makes them more determined." His words were interrupted by explosions drawing ever closer, the distinctive sound of human weapons echoing through the corridors of retreating ships like an omen of inevitable destruction. The pride of the EGOTs, built over millennia of space domination, disintegrated faster than their ships. The realization that they had not just awakened an enemy, but a force of nature, began to permeate every level of their warrior society. The reports reaching the mothership spoke not only of military defeats, but of a fundamental transformation in their understanding of warfare itself. The humans were not merely defending their planet, they were redefining the very rules of interstellar combat. The final order to retreat came too late for many. The human forces, now in complete control of the battlefield, showed no mercy to their fleeing invaders. Every downed ship was celebrated with victory cries that echoed through captured communication channels, every captured or eliminated EGOT a testament to the price of underestimating humanity. The space around Earth became a graveyard of alien technology, a monument to the hubris of a civilization that had mistaken technological advancement for true superiority. In the decades following the failed invasion of Earth, the name humanity echoed through the halls of power across the galaxy with a newfound meaning. No longer was it spoken with disdain or condescension, but in cautious whispers, laden with respect and often fear. Ix, one of the few survivors of the EGOT catastrophe, dedicated the rest of his life to documenting and sharing the most important lesson his species had ever learned. True power does not reside in the sophistication of technology, but in the indomitable spirit of those who wield it. The records of the battle for Earth became required study material in every military academy across the galaxy. Strategists from 1,000 worlds pored over the tactics employed by the humans, attempting to understand how a technologically inferior civilization had managed to defeat one of the most advanced forces in the known universe. The conclusion was always the same. It was not technology that determined the outcome, but the passion, determination, and resilience of a species that refused to be subjugated. Stories of the battles spread like wildfire along interstellar trade routes, each tale more astonishing than the last. They spoke of human soldiers who, even fatally wounded, continued fighting until their last breath, of entire communities that transformed into resistance forces within hours, of how weapons deemed primitive in the hands of determined warriors had proven more effective than the most advanced alien armament systems. The AK-47, that very same weapon Ix had once ridiculed, became a symbol recognized across the galaxy, not for its technology, which was still considered rudimentary by interstellar standards, but for what it represented: humanity's ability to turn simplicity into lethal efficiency, to compensate for technological limitations with courage and unyielding determination. Replicas of the weapon began appearing in museums throughout the galaxy, each accompanied by warnings about the dangers of underestimating an apparently inferior civilization. In the highest spheres of EGOT power, the defeat on Earth triggered an unprecedented cultural revolution. A society that had built its entire identity on technological superiority was forced to reevaluate its most fundamental values. The concept of war changed dramatically. It was no longer seen as an exercise in technological domination, but as a clash of wills, where determination and fighting spirit could overcome any material advantage. The message Eeks brought back to his people was clear and direct. Never challenge humans again. It wasn't just a warning about their military capabilities, but a profound recognition of something the egots, in all their arrogance, had failed to understand: that the true strength of a civilization cannot be measured solely by its technological advancements, but by the depth of its determination and the strength of its spirit. The galaxy would never be the same after the battle for Earth. The balance of power shifted drastically, not because humans had the most advanced technology, but because they had proven that the will to fight, when combined with ingenuity and determination, could overcome any obstacle. The egots' final lesson became a warning to all civilizations in the galaxy. Underestimating humans was more than a mistake. It was an invitation to disaster. So, what did you think of this display of human superiority? Pretty impressive how a primitive weapon can teach such a powerful lesson, right? But this story is just the tip of the iceberg. Have you ever wondered what happened when the Praxians, a race of biomechanical warriors, discovered that their battle exoskeletons were useless against... Well, you'll find out in the next video playing on your screen right now. Want to hear more stories where humanity proves its supremacy against arrogant aliens? Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss a single story about how primitive humanity became the most feared legend in the galaxy. And tell me in the comments, which primitive weapon do you think would strike the most fear into an advanced civilization?